Since 1960, this place has been home field for most NASCAR teams, sitting right in their backyards. It's rare, though, that you see the world's finest GT automobiles take to the race course in Concord, North Carolina, though it has happened. While we won't be showcasing the GTLM class you might have seen here in 2020, we do have the full iRacing GT3 category on display today at America's Home for Racing. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Concord, North Carolina. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Lindgren alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for continuing coverage of NARL GT3 Season 8. Tonight's coverage from Charlotte is brought to you by Muradness, by JS Consulting, and by Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And Zach, as we descend upon Charlotte Motor Speedway, at least in this virtual sense, this always feels like home to me, a second home, I'll say, during the summer. I'm down here a lot. Summer shootout takes place in that little quarter-mile oval that you kind of see there on the front straightaway by the start-finish line between the start-finish straight and pit lane. I'm down here a lot. I know you've been down here a lot. You've been to a lot of Coke 600 races and Roval races here in your time living in North Carolina. This is in our backyard, just like all the NASCAR teams, but I suspect there are going to be a lot of drivers that are on this racetrack for maybe the first time ever today. Certainly maybe the first time in a competitive league at this racetrack, because this is not used in road leagues all that often.
Well, we do have a lot of people in the league, Andrew, that are not from the US of A or may not be accustomed to the NASCAR schedule, where Charlotte resides pretty much right in the middle and at the end of the schedule, one being the Coke 600, as you mentioned before, and the Roval itself. But, I mean, I feel like this is a great stuff for the GT class. You were there for the IMSA race back in 2020, and I feel like it put on a great show. I was not there myself, but I heard about how great of a show that IMSA had put on here, and we've been hyping up this track for, what, Andrew, 2-3 weeks now? Ever since we saw it first on the schedule, we've been hyping up this track and what the GT3s can bring here. So I'm very excited to see how these cars handle at this oval/road course.
Yes, here at the Roval. You take a look at the track map here on your screen as practice runs out with Thorsten Ulrich and Dean Kerr, the class leaders. You take a look here at the track map. You start on the same start-finish straight, same front stretch as the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series teams, even the ARCA Series teams. You start off the same start-finish line, barreling down towards turn 1, but you take a very sharp left-hand turn a little bit earlier. It used to be called Tom's Heartburn Turn. Here in the sim, it still has that branding. We might even call it that a time or two tonight. That sets you up for what I have dubbed unofficially, very unofficially, the Bojangles drive-through through turn number 2, and that's because that little cut-through you see from turn 7 to turn 2, that's actually used for the Bandolero course here that Charlotte runs with the NX Legend Series and US Legend cars. They cut straight from turn 6 through turn 7 and turn 2 to turn 3, make it kind of a Bojangles drive-through. Anyways, that then sets you up for the hammerhead at turns 3 and 4 because it looks like a hammer. I don't have any witty phrase there. It looks like a framer. It looks like a hammer. I'm getting words now mixed up, but looks like a hammer, so we call it the hammerhead. IMSA Radio actually dubbed that term back in 2020. That then sets you up for the Redneck Roller Coaster, and there's a good reason why it's called the Redneck Roller Coaster, and it's not because it's a NASCAR track. That hill over there in turns 6 and 7 is called Redneck Hill, so we call it the Redneck Roller Coaster. That is a more unofficial name, but we're going to go with it anyways because it sounds really cool. The Redneck Roller Coaster from turns 5 through number 8. That brings you up and then back down and right back up to track level at turn 8 to bring you back up onto the NASCAR oval. Then 2 chicanes to slow you down and make things a little more interesting. Give you a couple passing zones at turn 11 and turn 15 and just kind of bring the whole lap together. So that's kind of a crash course on this Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Let's quickly talk about point standings. There isn't a whole lot to digest here, Zach. I'm going to be honest. This is kind of underwhelming in Division 1. Thorsten Ulrich, with his 2 wins last week at Montreal, has taken the lead by a large margin, 42 points over Hector Alvarez. Paulo Godoy now sits in 3rd. Yannick Steinhoff has slipped down to the 4th spot. That's about the only exciting part of these standings, other than Chris Winstone slotting into the top 10 so far in these standings. It's not that exciting right now. It's the mid-season. It's going to take a little bit of time for these guys to find their stride, I think. By race 8, that should be a lot more entertaining. Down to Division 2, though, it's the class that never stops giving. Christian Gritzko now on top. Armando Aarons only 8 back. Dean Kerr 14 back. Kevin Peak 18 back. So much tighter at the top. And look at Andy Ray Miller down there tied for 7th. He's got the only 2 wins in this category now that Chris Winstone has been bumped up. He's all the way down there at 8th, which I just find so fascinating that the only driver with wins in this class right now is 8th. But we'll talk more about these standings as the night goes on. Qualifying happening now in the background. Zach, who's fast?
Well, right now, a familiar name is up top right now. Thorsten Ulrich sits up top on top of everybody. David Schwartz slides into second, 0.3 slower than him. But this is one thing that I was noticing through practice, Andrew. A lot of these guys are relatively close in time. There's not really any outright outlier. Of course, Thorsten Ulrich was fastest in practice as well, but he also had a couple guys right behind him within 1/10 or 2/10 behind him. So even though we have a familiar name up top, he's not really putting a large gap on any one individual within, you know, half second to a second in front of everyone. They're kind of right on top of each other. But as of right now, Thorsten Ulrich atop of the leaderboard.
We'll stay on board here with Thorsten as he wraps up this lap. This will be lap number 2 for him, as that might be, yeah, that was the outside wall there at the front straightaway, so that lap will not count. He'll stay at a 1:15.609, and that's what I love about the Roval here. It's got some street course feelings, honestly, because of how little runoff there is in so many spots around the track. If we ride on board here with David Schwartz from the onboard camera on the roof, you'll see there's no runoff outside of turn 1. It's straight to a concrete wall that narrows up on you. There's really no runoff here at turn 2 until you pass that little outcropping. There's very little runoff here at turn 3, and when you do run off that corner, it's flat. There's nothing to catch you. You go straight to the outside wall. Then finally there's some runoff here from turn 4 to turn 5, but still not very much. It's very tight, very compact, very little cut room there at turn 6. The apex through the Redneck Roller Coaster opens up a little bit, then a concrete wall at turn 7 and 8, and finally you're back onto the oval where there's a little more room to run, but there is very little room for error, Zach, whether it's coming back onto the oval on the front stretch like we saw Thorsten Ulrich getting the outside wall, down here through the chicanes, through the infield, there's very little room. It feels a bit like a street course.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Andrew, right there, with very little runoff and very little room for any impurities in your line, any impurities in your throttle input, in your braking input. There's very, very little room. And even if you were to go out to a little bit of those runoffs to try to carry any kind of momentum, there's really no benefit into doing so. You're really more so hurting yourself. So this track does have a lot of street course tendencies. You've got to have a perfect line. You've got to hit your line as perfect as possible each and every lap. And over a matter of a 20-minute race and a 40-minute race, that line becomes harder and harder just because tires are wearing, other people are in your line. It becomes a very, very difficult track to run and be successful at.
So we've watched David Schwartz here. He has dropped down the qualifying order a good bit. Paulo Godin now sits in second. So the same players are up front. Thorsten Ulrich, Eduardo Pecorini sits in third. Paulo Godin sits in second. David Schwartz in fourth. Tomek Jankowski, a very solid effort in fifth place. Sam Soyd in sixth. Miguel Colon down here in seventh as he works to complete his run here on lap number 2. He's got a little more time. He's even got a third lap in store. So Miguel could go much higher here as he goes faster that lap. That cuts in big time. That's now third quick for Miguel, and that'll be a wash on lap 3 as he gets the outside wall. Down in division number 2, Dean Kerr is on top with Anthony Wayand in second, Armando Aarons in third, points leader Christian Gritzko in fifth as Ryan Passage jumps up to the third spot.
It's going to be really interesting because I was taking a look at some of the different cars. We've kind of made note of this, different cars in Division 2. There's a lot more variety in Division 2 over Division 1. A lot of the Division 1 have selected the McLaren as their season-long car, whereas Division 2 there's Porsches, as we see on screen right now, the Ford Mustang, McLaren. There's so many different variables, and I kind of wanted to see how the Mustangs fare as a part to all the other cars, just because, well, this road course was made for big NASCAR stock cars. So I'm really interested to see how the big stocky Ford Mustang compares to more of these aerodynamic like the Porsches or the McLarens or the Mercedes, whichever one best suits the driver. But I'm really interested to see how those cars fare in turn to all the other variables out on the track.
Just jumping around to some different onboards. Here's Miguel Colon on board with that McLaren. He, of course, has thrown this lap away, but he's still out there going, getting some more reps, and that's important, Zach, to use the entirety of this qualifying session. I know a lot of drivers will maybe tip the wall and quit early when they feel like they have no more chance, or they know they have no more chance, but continuing on through the session is oh so important to continue getting reps, continue getting practice around the racetrack. Here's, though, somebody that could go for a better lap time and mix things up towards the front. Francesco Antonelli, sitting 11th quick right now in his number 61. He could very well bump up the order. He's got enough time to get this lap in. Could we watch the 61 car rise to a better starting spot?
It's very, very possible with him sitting pretty much mid-pack of D1. It's very, very possible to see him rise to the top. We've seen Antonelli get up into the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd. He hasn't been able to break through just yet, but he has been kind of holding place around in the last few tracks we've had. I come to think of last week in Canada, maybe even at Sebring, he was in contention for some of those fights. Maybe not have gone his way, but he has been in contention around those positions, so it's very, very possible and likely that we see him jump up into those spots.
Watching Francesco round NASCAR 3 and 4, coming around to the front stretch chicane. A beautiful number 61 McLaren down to the hard braking zone at the front stretch chicane and around that little corner. Looks clean, and it's going to be much faster, about a half-second pickup from a 1:16.3 to a 1:15.8. That's good for 4th. That is a big shake-up at the front of the field.
Be right along with Billy Bowerman now. He looks like he's going to finish his time. I don't think anybody else is going to be able to get in time should they have just taken their final lap. A lot of drivers coming in, maybe just shaking off the rust a little bit, maybe just trying to get a better understanding now that they were alone in qualifying, whereas they were surrounded by other cars in practice. But now we get ready for the 20-minute heat.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Whiplash SimCam's race details here for us this evening. Pretty much the same thing we've had. It really is the same thing we've had all season to this point. A 60-minute practice followed by a 10-minute qualifying session that's wrapping up in about 5 more seconds. A 20-minute sprint will lead us off this evening with fixed setups and 45% fuel, with a 15 incident limit, then every 5 thereafter is another penalty. A 40-minute feature will end the night this evening. We didn't really get to look at it there in the qualifying session, but before we go too much further, we will take a look here at the Cody Williams Design race weather details. An 85.7 degree ambient temperature gives us a track temp of 90 degrees, and one thing I'm going to have to add to this graphic, Zach, is a clock to show exactly what time it is in the sim, because it is about 7 o'clock or so in sim, maybe even later now. What is the clock showing in sim right now?
Let's see. As of right now, it is showing a 7:30 time for the clock in sim. So I think you also bring up a good point, Andrew. We were kind of talking about it pre-broadcast about how late this race is. We're going to be a 20-minute heat race and then a 40-minute feature. There's a good chance that we see these cars go into the night, which is going to be our first true night race. So kind of excited to see how that turns out as well.
Yeah, it seems like we get one a season, usually at Daytona, maybe sometimes at places like Sebring or here at Charlotte. Seems like we're racing into at least the evening, if not nighttime here, which is always appreciated. It is so special to see these lights kick on, the stadium, the Musco Stadium lights around the racetrack kick on and illuminate this place. It is a special, special feeling, at least in real life. Let's take a look, though, at the Lucky Performance starting grid. On pole, Thorsten Ulrich, right where he left off a week ago. He'll lead us to the green here in the sprint race. Paulo Goday will start from second, with Miguel Colon and Francesco Antonelli in third and fourth place. Starting from fifth, Eduardo Pecorini, David Schwartz, reigning champion, from sixth. Starting seventh, it'll be Tommy Jankowski in the 11, alongside Samsoid in the number 7. Just ahead of Scott Kimbrough and Mark Reynolds with a top 10 starting spot this evening here at Charlotte.
Just behind them, you're going to have Adrian Olshar and Lucas Souza 11th and 12th, Jake Browder and Chris Winstone 13th and 14th. He had not the best of first race in Division 1 last week, hoping he could turn it around this week. Scott Reister and Dean Kerr will be the first Division 2 driver in P16. Anthony Wayand, Ryan Passage, P17 and 18. Ricardo Delgado, Edgar Ruiz, 19th and 20th.
Down in 21st and 22nd, you'll find Armando Aarons and Christian Gritzko. That's your points leader in Division 2, Christian Gritzko. Watch out for him. No wins yet, but on top of the standings. 23rd, Thomas Rayleigh. 24th, Jose DeLeo. Followed up by Andy Miller and Scott Angelo there in the 26th position. Falling back to 27th, Sven Hartman, newcomer to the series alongside Kevin Peake, who's been established here for a few seasons now. And Alex DeMarco and Billy Bowerman round out row 15.
Behind them, Robert Godnoli and Manuel Sandoval will be 31st and 32nd. Craig Jessen, Mark Bully will be 33rd and 34th. But one name that we have yet to mention, I'm not for sure if there was a penalty given to him beforehand for not qualifying. Johan Flammen will be starting tail end of the field, 36th.
And I actually think there might have been a penalty given to Yannick Steinhoff after last week's race at Canada. I thought he would have one, so I'm surprised. I don't actually even see him here this evening. So it seems like Yannick has called this one a wash and just won't be here tonight, which is unfortunate to see, but definitely worth noting that penalty for Johan Flammen. I believe it is a pit lane start for driver number 13, and I'm pretty sure Yannick had the same treatment where he would have, if he was here tonight, would have had a pit lane start. So Johan from the pit lane. That was given out after the lap 1 festivities and whatnot. Now we'll just leave it there last week at Montreal. But here we go, Zach. We are ready to go racing this evening for round number 4. If we look at the schedule here briefly, Mugello, Sebring, Canada, now Charlotte here for round 4. These guys are into kind of that middle stretch of the season. After tonight, we are straight up halfway through the season. England next up, then Portland, then Chicago and Zolder. A lot of great races, a lot of tight races coming up. This is the first of the bunch of really punishing races, I feel like.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, and I was going to mention about how crucial it is qualifying here just because of where the start is coming to the line for these guys. You're going to have that second kind of chicane that you had mentioned earlier on the track map where the green's going to go for the leaders when they're pretty much coming out of it. For the rest of the field, however, they're still going to be in it, so this is going to be a wild start here for the heat race.
And here we go. The pace car is down and away. Chris Winstone right to the pit lane. Everybody else on the racetrack to the green flag. That's one thing about Charlotte. You get the green flag in the middle of that chicane. We're racing here in round 4. A very well orchestrated start at the front of the field as they run through the hammerhead for the first time as a cohesive. Now to the redneck roller coaster. Thorsten Ulrich, Paulo Godai at the front. Problems in the back. Jake Browder turned around. He's backing it up and trying to get going.
A very, very narrow part of the track you saw right there. Everybody kind of in the single file line coming out of hammerhead. So everybody pretty much well out of his way. Still a very dangerous part to be sideways on the track. Up here with Thorsten Ulrich pulling away already from second place from Paulo Godai. We had kind of mentioned about how close these guys were in practice and qualifying. Ulrich kind of putting that theory to shame as of right now.
Here's a look at everyone through that back straightaway bus stop chicane. A few drivers getting out close to that wall on the left side of the racetrack. There we go. Problems in the back. Big impacts for a couple of those cars. Thomas Rayleigh is involved, and I see some others, Ricardo Delgado and Armando Aarons, it seems. Delgado crab walking away from the scene of the crash.
He's got to get out of the way quick, 'cause he's still got drivers coming up on him. He seems to get out of the way, but that car absolutely gone crab walking down turn 3 and 4, and with no wing. That car is going to have to come down pit road.
We'll look back at what was going on for Ricardo Delgado here on the opening lap. Lap 1 now complete. He was right behind Christian Gritzko and ahead of Thomas Rayleigh here at this point in time. And Aarons is a couple of cars up in front of Gritzko in that blue Mustang. So what happens here? Gritzko to the inside. I wonder if that's where this happens. He pushes up to the inside of Ruiz, and Delgado, I think, went for a hole that just was not there.
it looked a little bit too late. Delgado probably trying to follow Gritzko to gain positions, and it just, like you said, the hole closed up rather quickly or was not there in turn. So Delgado here, the stewards have already handed him a black flag, so they have put him at fault. Yep, came in just a little bit too hot and got into the back end.
That's one time I'm glad we have this rollable configuration this evening, because we can actually use one camera angle from across the racetrack to view that crash like that, and it's a good angle. It shows you the closing rate between those cars. Regardless, out front, it is Thorsten Ulrich leading the way with a big lead already over Paulo Godai, 1.3 to 4 seconds or so. Antonicelli sits in third, Schwartz in fourth. Hard to say what happened to Chris Winstone at the start of the race, Zach, but he has recovered at least to the point that he's on the racetrack. He's now behind Johan Fleming, who of course started from the pit lane. These two with a lot of work to do.
Hopefully with interviews towards the end of it, hopefully we get to have a chance to talk to him, because that kind of seems like a little bit of a strategy call. Get out of everybody's way, get out of harm's way right there in the middle of the hornet's nest, get a clean track to where you're able to run the laps that you want to, and he's already up a couple positions because of the problems that we saw earlier. But now with everybody kind of thinning out, it's going to be hard to pick up positions maybe here or there should there be any more issues as we ride on board with Miguel Colon. But one of the things that I did want to bring up, Andrew, with this track being right in the middle of the season, right in the middle of how the season lays out, with how difficult it is to pass here. Sure, we already see how the qualifying efforts have passed on for Ulrich and everybody else that was up front, but we've already seen how difficult it is to pass for these guys. When the invert happens for the feature race, you're at the mercy of everybody else. So this could be a very, very major race for some of those guys that haven't had a win, haven't had any kind of big points day, to turn the points in on top of itself.
Yeah, passing will definitely be difficult here this evening, no matter what. So we've got a pit stop here from Ryan Passage. This is unscheduled. Of course, you don't want to pit here. This has to be a penalty. That was pretty stop and go. It might have even been an incident penalty already. I mean, it's possible. It's see Christian Gritzko, he's in for service. This is a problem.
I'm looking through some of the logs for the NARL stewards. Nothing has come across as far as any other incidents. Only Ricardo Delgado has been handed a black flag. So yeah, it might be just maybe a little bit of damage repair, maybe just a little bit of, again, just get some clean racing. If they didn't feel like they can get into that invert status, maybe just to get a little bit of track knowledge, track positioning, whatever it may be for them.
Up front, it's a lot of McLarens leading the way. Thorsten Ulrich and a McLaren leading with about 15 minutes to go in this sprint race. It's a McLaren in second, a McLaren in third, McLaren in fourth, McLaren in fifth, McLaren in sixth, and a Mercedes in seventh. Sorry to break the train, but McLaren top six, Mercedes in seventh, then another McLaren in eighth, and finally a Porsche in ninth. Mark Reynolds, I don't want to say leading anything, but he's like kind of leading a secondary train or even tertiary train back here ahead of Adrian Allstar and Scott Kimbrough. This could be a fun little battle once Adrian gets position on Mark. I think Adrian's a little faster. We'll have to wait and see.
And that's just one of the downsides of having a street-like road course, is just you can't really get any kind of run. You have to wait for certain corners, like coming out onto the track. You see the run kind of developing here. You're going to have to show what you're going to have to do coming into the chicane. He shows his nose. He's going to be able to take the pass.
So pass made by Adrian Allstar. That's going to be over Mark Reynolds, who now loses another spot. Scott Kimbrough goes by, so it is very much a sinking boat all of a sudden for the number 85. Want to mention down in D2, Anthony Wayand is the leader. Didn't see much of that initial fight between he and Dean Kerr, but Kerr is now mired back behind Edgar Ruiz with a lot of damage. This might be worth, in fact, it's going to be worth going back and seeing if we can find a quick replay on what happened to Dean Kerr.
While you're going back to find that replay, Andrew, Dean Kerr was in the 15th position before that, before any kind of incident happened. At least the last lap he was, so that's going to take him out of that invert status. So it's going to be interesting to see what his decision is here. Obviously, it's going to hinder the car just a little bit, so what his decision is going to be as the race goes forward.
This might explain what happened to Chris Winstone. Dean was lined up behind Chris on the grid. This is back to the pace lap, Zach. That's how far back I just had to go. was back to the beginning of the race. Something happened between these two. I would guess it was into the bus stop, but we're going to watch this through because he's had this damage since the beginning of the race.
Well, he's following, I mean, decently close to Winstone, but it's not anything egregious. I mean, it's up to the driver to see how close they have to follow coming into the backstretch chicane. So I'm guessing maybe just a checkup for everybody to get singled out coming through the chicane. This is also kind of come down to track knowledge and how well you know the roval. Everybody pretty much has to single file out coming into the chicane. Yep, there it is right there.
There you see the bumper fall off, so a big checkup through the field. Let's watch that back one more time and see if maybe we can find where that started. Speed it up a little bit. And see, so Souza checks up a little. Oh, wow. Samsoid checked up, and it just ricocheted everybody back. It's actually a very good thing it was limited to just Dean Kerr, because that could have been the entirety of the outside lane and some of the inside lane there. That could have been a whole lot worse.
I agree, and it just... I mean, I hate it for Dean Kerr, especially when it's not a racing-related incident, especially when it's on pace laps, getting ready for the race. Your car already has damage, and that's something that you've got to really pay attention to as the race progresses. So, I mean, I hate that for Dean Kerr. Hopefully he's able to minimize any kind of bleeding. He has only fallen to 16th after what you're talking about, losing that position to Edgar Ruiz, but it's just a very unfortunate part of this track and unfortunate part of this racing.
About halfway through the sprint race now, you're watching Tommy Jankowski go to work on Samsoid for position number 7. This is the most exciting battle that I see in the top 10 at the moment. We do have a battle for second in division number 2, though. Dean Kerr goes by, or gets passed rather, by Andy Ray Miller. Ryan Kerr, or sorry, not Ryan Kerr. There used to be a Ryan Kerr in the series, now just Dean Kerr. Regardless, Dean Kerr getting passed up and falling down to the 3rd spot in division number 2. It's Scott Angelo right behind, who has had an abysmal season to this point, trying to turn things around here at the Roval.
And this is a good place to do it, like we were talking about, Andrew. This track seems to be poised to be pretty much a points flipper as far as what we're seeing. Difficult to pass, where you're mired is kind of where you are. You can't really scoot away from anybody nor set them up, and only in certain specific areas. So this could be a good track for Scott Angelo to be able to jump some points, get some points in Division 2, as he's pretty much, 4th right now in Division 2. So he has a good chance to flip some points.
It seems that Johan Flamen is calling today a wash. Samsoid now under fire from multiple cars through the front straightaway chicane. You saw Tommy Jankowski and Adrian Allshaw there on the inside for a moment. Let's go back, though, and see what happened potentially to Johan Flamen to bring him out of this race. He has... Actually, never mind. We'll cancel the replay. He's back. This is still live picture. He's back. He dropped out for a significant portion of time, Zach. So maybe some connection difficulties popping up. There's some more.
Yeah, and we've kind of harped on this as the seasons progress. That's just something that us internet racers, us iRacers have to worry about. Real racers have to worry about tire fall off, tire blowing out, engine expiring. We have to worry about internet expiring, about connection issues to the service. So I guess that's as close as the real thing as we're going to get as far as those kind of fears in car, but that is something real that iRacers still have to kind of pay attention to as they're out on track battling these guys.
Well, it's an interesting little aspect because it adds to everything else you have to worry about. While there are a few things that you have to worry about in a real car that you don't have to in iRacing, you still have to worry about tire fall off, tire management, all that good stuff. Even engine management to a point. You can overheat these cars and blow them up. So those are all valid concerns. But you're right. It is one of those things where you don't really have the mechanical concerns in iRacing versus real life. So you instead have to worry about your other hardware, your PC, your internet, that kind of stuff potentially failing on you. We watch this battle for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th continue on. It's Samsoid leading the train, Jankowski, then Allshaw right behind, and then Kimbrough in 10th. They're all so close together and getting so close to the back end of that number 7. Something is going to come to a head here very soon.
Yeah, this is kind of where the tension starts to build, especially now that we're coming up onto the later parts of this heat race. Right here, you see Olshar and Kimbrough go at it. Olshar looks like he's going to pick up a position on Janikowski, excuse me. So it would have been Tomek Janikowski and Adrian Olshar exchanging positions there. But that's just the reality of it. When you're stuck behind a driver, there's not really nowhere to go. So when other drivers catch up to you, it's either you start battling the guy that's holding you up or start battling the guy that caught you. And right now we're seeing the guys that catch each other, they're battling each other, not really getting after Samsoid.
Deeper in division number 2, Sven Hartman working here on Scott Angelo with Jose DeLeo right behind. Jose making the switch from a Mustang in season 7 to a Mercedes here in season number 8. He's got a front row seat to a great fight.
One of the things that I'm noticing here, Andrew, a lot of clobbering on that last little chicane over the turtles. I didn't expect these cars to be jumping them as hard as they are. I guess I should have expected that because we did see that a lot as we see Angelo under fire here. Able to get away through Hammerhead, maybe not, maybe so. Well, I don't even know what to say now. Every time I said something completely different happened. So under fire is Scott Angelo, but these guys taking the turtles a little bit more aggressive than I had anticipated.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised actually. Midweek, between last week and this week, these guys were talking about, having to hit the curbs to make lap time. And, I shared a few pictures from when I was here for the IMSA round at the Roval back in 2020. And immediately the question was, hey, did those guys have to use the curbing as much as we do? I was surprised by that. I did not expect that. These guys are all over the curbs there into the back stretch chicane, and then again here through the front stretch chicane. Watch this in a moment. I can't inform you, by the way, Samsoid has been passed up by Olshar and by Jankowski. But watch this onboard with Hartman into this front straightaway chicane. Boom, big curb. He blinks out. Well,
perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. But you saw the point there. Big curb usage there on the inside.
It's just, I guess I should have known, just because of how hard these drivers had to use the final chicane in Canada. They had to use the turtle in that final corner as well to try to either rotate the car or make speed, make lap time. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. I just wasn't expecting these cars to be all over the turtles through this track at the very least.
Hey, whoa. Big problems. Angelo off the racetrack, comes back on and gets bullied off by Jake Browder. There's Johan Flamen trying to go by. What just happened to Angelo?
Not for sure. Let's see if we can take a look here on the replay. Maybe it's just car got a little bit away from him coming through the redneck roller coaster, and it's just from there, maybe he was just along for the ride trying to save the car to the best of his abilities. Let's see if that actually came through.
One of the few Ferraris in the field just got loose. Wow.
Oh, and he clips the wall there. That's going to give him some right front damage. Like you said, he gets bullied right here as well. That might give him some left front damage. I'm not for sure if it's going to be a lot. That's going to drop him significantly through the pack and going to mire him back here with some of these guys that maybe didn't want to be racing around.
He's now back behind his teammate Alex DeMarco, who runs in 7th. So a big loss there for Scott Angelo. Jake Browder now getting passed up by Johan Flamen, who's now working on Kevin Peak in the number 101. Well, that has kind of died down a little bit. Let's jump back towards the front. Top 3 positions, in fact. Paolo Godai getting chased down by Francesco Antonicelli. This is going to be for position number 2. Antonicelli, man, what a star this guy is starting to become. I don't know if the win is going to come this season or next, but he is starting to knock on that door more and more. I know Thorsten's out by 4 seconds. He's way ahead of these guys right now. But, man, if there's a mistake to be made, if there is an opportunity that presents itself to Francesco, he's going to walk through that door one of these days and try and get a win.
One of the things that I've kind of been noticing with him, Andrew, is that his long run speed over the course of pretty much every race that we've seen has been, I mean, I can't say second to none, because we've seen several cars, Thorsten Ulrich, Johan Flamen get up front, or excuse me, Yannick get up front and just kind of lead the way on both short and long run, but Antonicelli's kind of up there with them as far as long run pace. He's been able to run down Gudai. Gudai had a good little stint there of being less than 2 seconds away from Ulrich, obviously slipping outside of that range now and back into the grasp of Antonicelli. So Antonicelli, arguably one of the better long run racers over the course of the season, and that's going to benefit him well as we come closer to the 40-minute feature.
2 minutes to go here in the sprint race. That time across the stripe should mean we have 2 laps to go. And out front, it is still all Thorsten Ulrich. Want to give a big thank you to our partners here with the series, Moradin, SJS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. Also a nod to Rocket Designs. They've come on board this season as an associate as well of the series. Battle popping up for fourth. Miguel Colon trying to chase down David Schwartz. You know, I talk about being winless at the top of the standings in the case of Christian Gritzko. It's not unheard of. In fact, go back a season, Zach, season number 7, David Schwartz won the overall championship with 0 wins. Never won a race last season, still has not won a race in this league. But he won the championship. He is your defending champion. I very well think it can happen again.
I very well too. I mean, I think we've seen over the course of this season, maybe we're only, what, Andrew, 4 or 5 races in, but I mean, I think we've already seen consistency pays. Gritzko up top in Division 2 without a win. Schwartz within a decent fighting chance of the Division 1 championship battle and the defending series champion without a win. So these guys, consistency is going to be a huge thing. Now, if we've got guys like this up here on the Whiplash SimCam's white flag, we got guys like Thorsten Ulrich that's going to continue to win. That makes it a little bit more difficult, but consistency still pays.
Thorsten Ulrich hunting down win number 4 of the season. The way we're counting it, by the way, for the actual wins this season is by sprint and feature race, because they are races still. They are equal races in that they are competitions held by the series with the same drivers on the same racetrack. The only difference is the race length and the pit stop. So it's still a win by our book, but the series is counting the overall night as a win. So it's a little bit different series to us, as I think Ulrich got the wall there out of turn number, or I guess out of the backstretch chicane, turn number 11 or 12. But I want to make that known, as Dean Kerr is around out of turn number 4. Regardless, here comes Thorsten Ulrich around to collect the checkered flag. This is win number 4 on the season for him. He'll be hunting win number 5 here very shortly. Here comes everybody else. That side-by-side battle was not for position. And that will do it for the sprint race, at least in division number 1. Down to division number 2, Anthony Wayand is going to come around, Zach, and collect his first win of the season.
Going to help him majorly in the points. We hadn't talked a lot about Anthony Wayand here through the first part of the season, but now we kind of have to. Picks up win number 1 for himself in Division 2, and he's P14. He looks like he's going to be starting outside front row for, big send here through the final corner. That's going to be a slowdown here for some of these guys, but going to be starting outside front row in the invert for Anthony Wayand.
Thorsten Ulrich, Paulo Garay, Francesco Antonicelli, your top 3 in Division 1. Anthony Wayand, Andy Ray Miller, and Sven Hartman, your top 3 in Division number 2. A few more cars across the stripe, and that will do it for us here in the sprint race this evening. Here comes Craig Yessen, the final car to finish, and he will finish 31st out of 35 starters. I'll do it for the heat/sprint race here this evening. Right into the warm-up then, Zach, and weather conditions. Let's see how they've changed. Track temp has actually come down a little bit. The ambient temp has come down a half degree. We are getting closer and closer to nighttime.
Yeah, you can see pretty much turn one, both NASCAR and actual turn one. The shade is starting to take over pretty much almost over the entirety of the track. Maybe a little bit of sun catching out of the first chicane on the backstretch, but the sun is setting. The track is going to get a lot more grippier. This is going to kind of play into the driver's hands and maybe making a bit more of aggressive moves, aggressive plays in the future runs. So this might play into some of these guys' hands. Maybe this might hurt some setups if they were maybe set up for a looser racetrack. So, or excuse me, this is a fixed league. I need to remind myself. I apologize. But be that as it may, this might still play into some of the drivers' hands that maybe were looking for a little bit more grip as the race went on.
It might not change how the setup feels necessarily, but it will change how the car feels because each car is different. So specific cars, whereas we don't have open setups, we have open car choice, specific cars can feel different and can have different advantages or disadvantages. So it can still have an effect here as we move on through the evening. And it's pretty warm, honestly. 85 degrees is decently warm here in the sim. I think you can only go up to 90 or 95. So to be 85 degrees is pretty toasty. And not at all unheard of or out of the ordinary for Charlotte, North Carolina this time of year, but it is decently toasty out there. It's going to be slip and sliding around the rest of the night just like it has been already. These guys, they had decent grip, it looked like. That, I'd imagine, is all mechanical and aero because it's not the track. It's the track is not going to have that much grip in it at this kind of temperature.
Yeah, you make a good point, especially... But I think right now for the warm-up, I think it'd be beneficial for some of these guys to get out and just see. I mean, obviously, 1 degree track temp change from the race to the warm-up. Not going to change a whole lot, but it still might give some of these guys some valuable information as we're pretty much halfway through the warm-up at this point. So a lot of these guys getting some information, maybe some pit stop practice here. This is a smart move, just getting an idea of what it takes to get into pit road. So... some information still to be had and some information still to be passed along.
You know what will change is sight lines around the racetrack and what things look like as the lights have ticked on. We are racing into the night here for sure. It's going to change how the track looks, your brake markers, everything like that. So visually, I think that's the biggest difference for these guys as the night goes on. It is going to change the way the racetrack looks out there and the way these guys find their markers around the racetrack. And, you know, this track is mostly lit even in the Roval configuration. There are some dark spots in the infield, but these guys' lights will make up for the rest of that. It'll be very well lit and very easy for us to see around the racetrack here this evening compared to places like Spa or the Nürburgring where there's absolutely no lighting around the racetrack. So we will have still a very well-lit racetrack, but the actual sight lines, the visual references are going to change quite a bit. While these guys get the full extent of their warm-up out there, I want to take a look at what is upcoming for us at the channel, Zach. And here's a look at things. As you can tell, we've got a few more things coming into the mix. Next up, we go to Homestead Miami Speedway next Tuesday for the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series. That is August the 12th. That is an oval race for these guys, of course, as you would imagine. NASCAR racing back on the menu here for us on Tuesdays. And then on Thursday, Zach, we head out to Donington Park for August 14th competition there, if you will, in England. That should be a lot of fun. And then the Major Series is back with round number 8 of the season as they take super late models to New Smyrna Speedway, something we are oh so accustomed to with the Sarah Super Series on Thursday nights when they run. So a lot of great racing coming up, a lot of great places to watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys do want to check out any kind of oval racing, obviously you want to stick around for the North American Racing League here on Thursday nights. But if you want to check out some super lates happening Sunday for the Major Series, give us a follow and check out our website at pitstoptv.com, facebook.com/pitstoptv, instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, TikTok, pitstoptv1, where you can get any kind of excitement. We're looking to be posting there a lot more as well. Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, youtube.com/pitstoptv1, x/pitstoptv_. So there's a bunch of great places for you to get all the information you need if you want to come watch, follow along, and heck, you might find something new for you if you are an iRacer, might find something that interests you and might want to get into.
And you can tell night has fallen just about here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway virtually, and we're going to take a few more minutes right here. It's going to advance just a little bit further when warm-up ends, and I'd imagine it's going to be pretty well nighttime by the time this race. Yeah, look at that. Even darker. The lights are even brighter. Oh yeah, we are night racing here on the North American Racing League. What a time to be alive. And one thing we didn't even mention, Zach, is the invert. We forgot to talk about that at the end of the last race, the sprint race. Edgar Ruiz, beneficiary there. Anthony Wayand, who won Division number 2, will start from second. Here's a look at your lucky performance starting grid, with cars 80 and 81 on the front row. Starting third and fourth, you'll find Scott Reister and Lucas Souza. That's a Mercedes alongside a Lamborghini. The only Lamborghini here in the series, I do believe. Starting from fifth, Mark Reynolds. Scott Kimbrough from sixth. Starting seventh, it'll be Sam Soyd in car number 7 alongside Tomek Jankowski, ahead of Adrian Alshar and Eduardo Pecorini.
Stand on the hill, Andrew, that this race is in fact going to be a flip race, especially for points. We got guys up top that hadn't had the best of runs so far in the season. This is going to be a great chance for them to earn some points. We saw in the heat race is very difficult to pass. But continuing on in the lineup, we've got Miguel Colon, David Schwartz 11th and 12th, Francesco Antonicelli, Paulo Gadai 13th, 14th, Thorsten Ulrich, your winner of the heat race, will be 15th. Andy Ray Miller starting next to him 16th. Sven Hartman, Jose DeLeo 17th, 18th, Jake Browder 19th, and rounding out your top 20, Kevin Peak.
Starting 21st, Johan Flamen alongside Alex DeMarco in 22nd spot. 23rd, Scott Angelo. 24th, Armando Aarons. Back to Thomas Rayleigh and Manuel Sandoval in row 13. Followed up by Chris Winstone, Dean Kerr, and Ryan Passage and Mark Booley.
31st, carrying on, Craig Jensen, Robert Guadagnoli, 31st, 32nd, Ricardo Delgado and Christian Gritzko, 33rd, 34th, and Billy Bowerman will be starting P35 on the field. Heartbreak for Christian Gritzko. We were kind of outlining him being the leader in the points for Division 2. He's going to be starting all the way at the back, but when you're at the bottom, the only way to go is up, so he's got his work cut out for him as we get ready for this feature race here at Charlotte.
It didn't really see exactly what happened to Gritzko there in the sprint race, but he is going to have a long road to hoe here in the feature race this evening. So a lot of work ahead of driver 91, but if anybody in Division 2 can do it, I would imagine it would be the points leader. Let's see what he can do as this night gets properly going. And of course, don't forget, it seems like maybe we have an incident here at the front of the field maybe. Don't forget, we are going to have the driver of the day conversation, and we can't forget as well, Zach, the lucky performance, lucky break of the day. We haven't seen anything particularly lucky just yet, but I'd imagine something is going to happen here in these next 40 minutes of racing that could very well count.
Well, one of the things that I kind of already want to put into account for the lucky break of the day for Anthony Wayand being in that 14th position for the heat race, starting P2 in the feature, the next closest D2 driver to him is Andy Ray Miller in 16th position. That's a whole 15 positions that he has over the second place car of a D2 driver. So right now, I would consider the invert, the lucky break of the day, lucky performance break of the day to Anthony Wayand starting front row.
Not a bad one. I like that a lot. So something to keep in mind as we get ready to go back green flag racing here in the feature race. A look quickly at Whiplash SimCam's race details. This is your 40-minute feature race. Fixed setups, 45% fuel. That's what you need to know as we get ready to go racing. We'll turn the music down and turn the engines up here to go racing. For 40 minutes at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, America's home for racing is lit up both physically and on the racetrack. Let's go racing. Mark Reynolds around. And Jake Browder now with him.
And one of the things that I feared right there, Andrew, just being in the middle of the hornet's nest, and Thorsten Ulrich, he didn't have any damage, but he did have to almost come to a complete stop, had to slow down a lot coming to the line because of that. That's going to hinder his advancement through the field a lot, but obviously some of these guys already getting turned around trying to get on the throttle. A little bit of a colder track with colder tires, harder to get back on the throttle.
Kevin Peak with problems here on lap 1. He'll fall all the way back and now gets back going. Edgar Ruiz leading the way, Anthony Wayand second, Scott Reister third. You might be thinking this had to be a racetrack that the broadcasters dreamt up and chose this season. I'll be honest with you though, I appreciate it, but Scott chose this one, so deflect any of your track choice discrepancies and discomforts his way. I appreciate it, so I'll still take some of it, but I love the Roval. I'm glad we have it here this evening. I think Scott knew that. That's why he chose it. It's definitely going to be an interesting one this evening as Scott himself goes for a move there on Wayand. Wayand goes ramping over the curbs, and here comes Souza.
This is going to bottleneck everybody coming through the front stretch. Scott's going to get to the inside of Wayand, almost 3 wide coming into turn 1. They think better of it, which is smart, but that's going to hold up the car to the outside behind Wayand as we've got Souza and Kimbrough in tow. So these guys, Wayand gets on the curb a little bit, almost gets up into the back of Souza. So Wayand right now kind of trying to stop the bleeding, but we've got a lot of D1 drivers right behind him, almost 2 wide really. So these guys already trying to make their way quickly around the D2 driver of Anthony Wayand.
On board with Wayand looking backwards. He's already got about a 5-second lead back to second place. Honestly, he can let these guys go if he needs to and just maintain where he is in the racetrack, and he should be scot-free for the win.
One of the benefits to getting that early start that, I mean, now we kind of have to look for another lucky performance, lucky break of the day for Edgar Ruiz, who's pretty much stepped out because of everything that's happened. So Edgar Ruiz has been able to step out in front of everybody because of everything that happened there with Anthony Wayand coming through the front stretch. Edgar Ruiz, excuse me, can kind of now, honestly, already after lap 1, just kind of relax a little bit, unclench his fist, kind of take a deep breath, and from there be good to go. But we do have a little bit of information from the NARL stewards. Mark D. Reynolds, the number 85 car, was disqualified. Francesco Antonicelli was black flagged, I'm guessing due to the coming to the line incident. So maybe another incident there, but those 2 drivers both disqualified and black flagged.
So problems there at the start, of course, we saw from Mark Reynolds. We might have to go a little further back. It'll be the 85 car here. Oh, wow, there was a car stopped there. Oh, man, we are going to have a lot to review here. I wanted to wait a little bit longer and see if it was really worth reviewing. I think it is going to be worth reviewing. Let's go back and see what happened here at the start of the race. Mark Reynolds in car 85. That's the yellow Porsche. Driver's left, our right. Gets into Lucas Souza there. Big sends from behind. I'm not sure what that's about. And then Mark loses it on his own out of the chicane. I'm not sure what the DQ would have been for. He waited for everybody to go by, so something had to have happened after the fact. But let's go back. I want to see who sent it like that. This would be one of the ride cars, I believe. Possibly Adrian Allstar here. Yes, it was Adrian sending it up the middle. Making it 3 wide, and that turns around Pecorini.
I mean, I feel like the importance of getting track position when everybody's close was kind of on display there. Ulshar trying to force it, even on his teammate, forcing one of the cars out wide. But yeah, that really did hurt Pecorini more than anything because he was trying to check up, but cars all around him. So I'm sure that might be something that the stewards have already reviewed or maybe will review after the fact, but nothing has come across as far as as far as the NARL stewards, but that is something that has to be reviewed. Ulrich, right on the back bumper, was able to scoot away, but that's what I was talking about, Andrew, just being in that hornet's nest right there. He did make up a good chunk of positions, but just being right there in the middle of everything, it's difficult to gain any kind of positive outcome, even though he did there.
And Sam Sweat has called it a day. Christian Gritzko has called it a day. So problems for these drivers moving forward. Mark Reynolds, let's follow him. I'm going to advance in the replay a little bit here and see if we can find what happened to Mark Reynolds. Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
We might have found it.
I mean, like you were saying, Andrew, it's very possible that the visual-wise just kind of lost where he was and had no choice but to try to miss, but
I can't imagine that being intentional because it's on somebody entirely arbitrary to what happened to him at the front stretch. I mean, this is...
Maybe he's just more so focused on...
He tried slowing down. He just lost where he was.
Yeah, he might have just been so focused on the drivers that he was around, making sure either they had room or that he was going to have a run, and by the time he realized where he was, it's just all but too late. But, man, I mean, I can't say much. I've also done it before, as they also had problems in front. This is maybe where Gritzko called it a night as well. No, he's able to get by cleanly, but I'm not going to comment negatively on it. I've also done the exact same thing. Losing kind of where I am on track is just a rather unfortunate part of road course racing.
Problems here for Ricardo Delgado in the Ferrari. That was Ryan Passage in the white Mustang. Gritzko got by that okay. I'm trying to find out what happened to these guys that are in the pit lane, but I'm just not finding it.
It might, you know, it's well.
Well, there it is.
And I think frustration might have taken over for Gritzko. He did have a lackluster heat race, so that might have been just a little bit of frustration. Now we're on board with Samsoid here to see why he called it a night. Looks like he was in the thick of this battle behind Anthony Wayne, or with the Anthony Wayne kind of check up with everybody in the D1 class. So let's see here. Does he get contact? Does he lose it?
Seems okay here. This is up through the Redneck Roller Coaster, turn 6. If we don't find it on this lap, we'll go back to live picture because there's a lot still happening, and I don't want to keep missing it. We'll watch through the bus stop and then call it a day, because I'm not sure where else something would have happened here. But this is Samsoid's potential issue. This is down the back straightaway into the bus stop chicane. And Pecorini got close. There was a checkup there with Wayand. That wasn't it, so we will come back to live picture here because there's just too much going on to keep missing it. Edgar Ruiz still leading the field right now over Scott Reister, and this is going to be a great battle. Anthony Wayand down to the pit lane. He's got no back bumper, it looks like, Zach, or certainly a damaged one.
Yeah, just with everybody being clumped up like that, there was bound to have some sort of misfortune happen, and unfortunately it looks like it caught up to Anthony Wayand. But as we go back to the replay, Andrew, Scott Reister looking to the inside of Edgar Ruiz will take position overall number 1. Scott Reister to the point with Scott Kimbrough in tow. But it's just unfortunate for the driver that started outside P2. Edgar Ruiz lets Scott Kimbrough go through the final, or through the backstretch chicane, excuse me. But we just can't seem to get rid of this guy. Thorsten Ulrich up from P15 up to P4. I thought maybe just because of where he was starting and the track that he was on, that he was going to have a little bit of trouble. But, that's where that issue was with
Samsoid. So that's what we were looking for.
Wow. Okay.
I think we were right almost on it, and then we bailed. If we had watched the rest of the lap like I said we were going to do, I think we would have seen it, because this is what happens to Samsoid. He comes over into Pecorini and gets shunted off into and through Wayand right there. Samsoid then called it a day down in the pit lane. But Wayand continued on with all of that damage to the back end of that race car. He had no rear bumper, well, actually, it looks like the diffuser was still there, but no bumper. So he had to pit for damage repairs. And Ruiz is now falling like a rock.
He's not really laying over for these guys, but in a sense he kind of is. He's kind of pulling to a different part of the track. I don't know if he's having any kind of like difficulties at home, sim difficulties. It's very possible that a family member walked in and his attention was taken away from the screen. It's very possible, all these things, but yeah, Edgar Ruiz is falling like a rock. He's now shown outside the top 5, so Edgar Ruiz from pretty much the point all the way back.
Down in 9th place now in just a couple of laps. Here we go. Lucas Souza on the back bumper of Johan Flammen, who of course had all those problems, had to start from the back end of the field, the pit lane even, as Edgar comes into the pit lane. And Edgar might be calling it a day here early.
Yeah, his car still looks fine. I mean,
I do see some right side damage. Right front damage. The right front's bowed in. Oh, the right rear might be as well. He might have hit the wall.
Oh, that's very possible. You make a good point.
He might have hit the wall. I would think turn 7. Let's see. Back to turn 1. He hit it even the lap prior. He definitely knocked in the right rear. I'm going to look one more time for this. 80 car. Okay. So this is after the damage still. I'll tell you what, I'll look one more time. I'll go back one more time. Let's see if I can find this. I might have found it. Might have. Let's see here. Watch and see if he gets close to the wall here in turn 7. This is 6. Here's 7. Does he get the wall here on exit? Not quite. So that's been like that for a handful of laps.
I don't know. It's just really odd because, I mean, Reister was just kind of not sitting behind him, but he was gaining on him. So I wonder if he did incur damage while he had the lead, and that's what enabled Reister and Kimbrough and Ulrich and everybody else behind him to start catching up to him to the point where he couldn't handle the car. He does seem to still be out on track, so he's not calling it a night just yet, but it's just very, very odd, I guess. It's harsh that we didn't see what happened, but that's heartbreak for Edgar Ruiz.
Gets into the wall there as Johan Fleming will go by. Jankowski was flashing David Schwartz. I'm not sure why. Oh boy, a lot unfolding here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It has been a race of reviewing things to get started here in the feature. But if we go up, this is battle for second place. Scott Kimbrough and Thorsten Ulrich. Ulrich has got some battle scars, some wounds on that race car, but it still looks okay. Even despite that left front damage, he's charging on second place.
Kimbrough doing a good job of holding his line. Ulrich has been able to catch him, but hasn't really been able to make any kind of move. Maybe moves that Ulrich is accustomed to making, obviously, getting up through the field. With the battle-scarred car, maybe he's just kind of laying right now. We are getting up to the halfway point for this feature race. Maybe he's just waiting for that pit stop to take that quick repair that these drivers have at their disposal. So, but still, Ulrich from first in the heat race, 15th at the start of this feature, already up to P3.
Meanwhile, Sven Hartmann has come alive, and he could be on his way to his first win here in the North American Racing League, albeit a class win here in Division Number 2. Sven Hartmann leading the way. He has taken the lead away from other drivers. Think guys like Anthony Wand. Oh, that might be it! Hard in the outside wall. Ooh, the damage might be okay. I saw sparks and everything. I thought that was going to be it for him. Let's see how damaged is this race car down the straightaway. That's mostly straight, and that's a little off to the left.
Might have just been one of those iRacing things where iRacing does glitch out from time to time where maybe it thinks you got into the wall a little bit harder, your fender will come off but reattach itself. So, I mean, I definitely saw a fender in the sparks as well, Andrew, but everything seems to be intact for him right now, but we're going to have to see how his race progresses with that damage, and if there is any kind of damage, to limp it to pit road for that pit stop to take his quick repairs. You see Chris Winstone coming down pit road.
There have been incidents in the back, by the way. You've seen us try to keep track of as many incidents as possible. There's going to be some that slip through the cracks. Eduardo Pecorini's out of the race. Mark Booley's out of the race. Francesco Antonicelli's out of the race. Sam Soyd, Christian Gritzko, and Mark Reynolds all out of the race. Ricardo Delgado is in for service. He'll take repairs. Chris Winstone, you saw him in the pit lane. He's now going to be exiting. As we see a handful of cars start to head towards the pits. Here's Thorsten Ulrich on the back end of Scott Kimbrough still.
Scott Kimbrough really hasn't given him any kind of, or Thorsten Ulrich any kind of line to try to take that position. Scott Kimbrough has been holding a really, really pretty line. He hasn't really been out of sorts at all. So, I mean, to have Thorsten Ulrich pretty much choking down your throat right now, well, this might be it. Thorsten Ulrich looking to the inside of Scott Kimbrough going into turn 1. They're going to battle. Scott Kimbrough isn't going to give it up that easy.
It's not over yet.
Kimbrough taking the defensive line through Hammerhead, is able to power out, maybe form a little bit of a gap, gets into the grass just a little bit though. Ulrich was trying to look to the right hand through Redneck Roller Coaster, still trying to look through the right, but Kimbrough going to have the preferred line coming out of it. Is Kimbrough again going to escape with that position, or holding on to that position rather? Ulrich now, a little bit of a correction there from Ulrich, so now he's not really going to have a run on Kimbrough. Maybe a little bit of draft coming into the backstretch chicane, but he's not really going to have much of a run on Kimbrough. One of the things that I did kind of want to highlight as well, Andrew, you highlighted Eduardo Pecorini calling it a night. He was handed a black flag from the NARL stewards, calling it a night after the fact. So I did kind of want to bring that to light, as there was a penalty handed to Eduardo Pecorini.
So some penalties all around. We'll take a look here at Tommy Kienkowski and Paulo Godai. This is a battle for 6th place. We're nearing halfway through this feature race already. Miguel Colon works on Jake Browder. This is going to be for a top 10 in class, as Johan Fleming goes fastest. This is going to be for a top 10 in class between these two. Browder hanging on to the top 10. Godai would like to take it away. I believe Paulo was also a car that was turned around early in this race. And there it is, the pass by Thorsten Ulrich on Scott Kimbrough.
Finally able to do something, especially right here through the Redneck Roller Coaster. We saw Ulrich have a good run there the last lap, but just wasn't able to find anything. Kimbrough wasn't able to hold off that position. Still got 20 minutes, but that's a decently sizable gap from Scott Reister to Thorsten Ulrich.
And it begs the question, if he was so much faster than Scott Kimbrough, why not pit a little bit early and short fill and get back out in a faster pit lane time than Scott Kimbrough? I think he must be that confident. He must feel like he can go up there and get past Kimbrough, still get up there to Scott Reister, and do so without having to worry about any kind of pit stop games, as Ulrich will lap around and officially take over 2nd place. The distance up to Reister, 1.5 seconds.
And we're going to have to see how quickly that, or if any shrinkage at all from 1st to 2nd here. I mean, obviously we've seen the speed that Ulrich has had as far as throughout the season. He's won a multiple amount of times. He pretty much swept last week at Canada, so it's safe to say that he is probably going to gain a little bit on Scott Reister here, but there's no guarantee that he gains a lot throughout this run right here.
Meanwhile, battle for 4th. Johan Fleming has cleared David Schwartz, who fights back for that spot. Fleming, squirrely, big block. You got to be careful with that kind of block. That is really dangerous to do here on an oval like that, but goes for the block anyways. Here they go down the straightaway. Almost contact there off of turn number 2, or NASCAR 2, into the bus stop chicane. Schwartz desperately trying to find a way by Johan Fleming, who started from the back end of the pit lane of the sprint race. He is now 4th.
And this is where it really tests your mentals, because having a block like that can really throw you off as far as going into the chicane, and then coming up on Schwartz like that to try to gain a little bit of position coming into the chicane. Johan Fleming able to pull away a little bit, but there might be a little bit of tension boiling between those two.
Then right behind, you've got Tommy Kienkowski and Paulo Godai. Godai, of course, would like to move up through the field. We know he's a top 3 contender any given week, but he is mired back in traffic right now, not where we expect him to be. Needing to work through this traffic and get moving forward. Battle between Chris Winstone and Jake Browder. This is for 11th on the racetrack. Well, 11th in class, actually. 16th on the racetrack. Allstar has gone by for the 10th spot. Alex DeMarco now in the pit lane. More drivers starting to pit. DeMarco pitted. Browder pitted. Miguel Colon pitted. So several drivers start to take their service. And look at this, Zach. The top 3 are in line. And there is just so much happening here at the Roval tonight.
There's a lot happening in rapid succession, too. There's not really any kind of break in the action. It's just been one after the other. Ulrich has been able to pull in Reister just a little bit, but Kimbrough has not let Ulrich get away. Kimbrough still just kind of laying in wake there. He hasn't fallen off too hard after the battle he had with Thorsten Ulrich. So Kimbrough here might also be a player. Reister holding on to that lead. It's now within a second. We still have pit stops to go for this top 3. We've kind of documented a lot of drivers behind them coming down to pit. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of those drivers are able... Oh, we got a car backwards.
Alex DeMarco straight out of the pit lane. Turned around, he's going to tow. We just saw him on the pit lane. This is the exit thereof. Hard to say if he took tires or if he just gets loose on his own. Immediately that car is backwards.
I would think that's a... I would think that's a tire issue just because of how quickly that car stepped out, maybe on throttle, maybe tried to chuck the car in a little bit too hard. I would think that's cold tires at play. I can't say for certain, but that's what I would think.
Yeah, he was on the jacks.
Up on jack stand, so yep. I feel very strongly now, in my opinion, that was cold tires at play.
Here we go, pass for the lead. Scott Reister moves over, lets Thorsten Ulrich take it. This could be win 5 as Reister's going to come down to the pit lane, it looks like.
I feel like that's a smart move as far as if you're going to lose the lead, you might as well try something different than the eventual leader, Thorsten Ulrich. Scott Reister is going to come down pit road, possibly take tires, obviously take fuel to make it to the end, but with them running long, they got to take less fuel than everybody else has taken at that point, which is going to make the stop a little bit shorter. So we're going to have to see where Scott Reister comes into play as far as after Thorsten Ulrich and Scott Kimbrough take their pits.
So Reister into the box. He will not take tires. I wouldn't expect tires to go on these race cars this evening, although we did see it for DeMarco. Nice little battle here. Armando Aarons to the inside of Kevin Peak. That will be a pass. Maybe not. Contact. Aarons out wide, but Peak had more trouble, and he loses that spot. Now, Ruiz and Colon. They're still on the racetrack. They fight for 22nd and 23rd here. Ruiz, 8 laps to go, took 50 seconds nearly in the box.
Which is kind of peculiar. Ruiz is obviously still out on track. He's going to let Miguel Colon go there. Miguel Colon going to take that position easily. We had kind of documented Miguel Colon coming down pit road, so this might also just be what we see in difference in possible tire strategies, possible fuel strategies.
Now that the action has died down a slight little bit here, Zach, let's go ahead and set up our Driver of the Day votes. We're running out of time to do so, so I want to make sure we do it here before pit stops, before everything gets crazy again. I'm going to pull up something on the ticker, positions gained, and we can see 14 for Ulrich, 18 for Flamen, 16 for Rayleigh, 22 for Bowerman. A bunch of spots gained by these certain drivers, and that is going to weigh heavily on our choices, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like there's an obvious choice there, but I don't like taking the obvious choice. Give me Johan Flamen for Driver of the Day. For starting in pit road in heat race, going all the way to the back, coming through the pack in heat race, and then coming through the pack again for the feature to put himself in 3rd place as of right now. Give me Johan Flamen for Driver of the Day in D1.
That's a solid choice. 18 spots. Big deal there. I'm going to go a little bit against the grain. I'm not going to pick the guy who is leading the race at Thorsten Ulrich. I want to give somebody else a chance here as Thorsten will come into the pit lane finally and take his pit stop. Here comes his teammate, it looks like, in Tom Kinkowski. But I am going to go ahead and take Thomas Rayleigh, who was up some 16 or so positions. Yeah, 16 spots up into 8th place in class. I'm going to take him. He's up a bunch of spots. He suffered some big challenges there in the sprint race. Looking a lot better in the feature.
I mean, that's a solid choice. I guess I didn't think to look too far back, but Thomas Rayleigh, we've kind of documented him throughout the season as well, being up towards the front. Maybe hasn't been the race that he's wanted so far, but the positive outcome being that he's gained all those positions and been able to put himself in points-paying positions as well. Obviously, all positions are going to pay some sort of points, but the more positions you gain, the more points you get, obviously. So, a great run by Thomas Rayleigh here.
And if I may, I'm going to make my choice ahead of you for D2. It's going to be Billy Bowerman, up 20 spots. I can't ignore that. Sven Hartman, up 9. That's my other choice if I could pick one, but I'm going to pick, for my singular pick, it'll be Billy Bowerman from the back end of the grid up to, well, that's a pass. That's going to make it a little bit less significant, I guess, but still nearly top 5 in Division 2.
And that's a really, really good choice. You know what? even though I'm going to kind of contradict myself here and saying I don't want to take the obvious answer, I'm going to have to take Sven Hartmann as far as leader in D2 for driver of the day. We were talking about him at the beginning of the race, that he was kind of heating up there a little bit right in front of Thomas Rayleigh, your pick for D1. But I did kind of want to highlight as well that we were talking about Anthony Wayand, and we were talking about the next car being closest to him, Andy Ray Miller being in 16th, but Sven Hartmann been able to put himself right in the middle of that conversation and at top of D2 as of right now. So give me Sven Hartmann for D2 driver of the day.
So Sven Hartmann in that vote, and he is 6th as they run right now overall, but that will change once pit stops cycle out. Your votes are now possible to be cast on the YouTube chat. The YouTube vote is up for driver of the day for the North American Racing League. Make sure to vote on YouTube here today. Your options this evening going to include Billy Bowerman, who runs in the number 10 car in 17th spot overall. Also, Johan Flaman, who runs in the number 13 car in the 4th spot overall. Here's a pit stop now for race leader Scott Kimbrough. We also have Thomas Rayleigh on the ballot. He's able to be voted for, along with Sven Hartmann in the number 119. So those are your options. Make sure to get your votes cast in the next, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes. You got a little bit of time still, but wanted to make sure we got these votes in here quick before we got to pit stops, which are now taking place. You see a lot of cars down the pit lane.
We do see a lot of cars down the pit lane. Your leader that came down pit road there, Scott Kimbrough, looking like he might join around these guys, but a name that I kind of want to mention, he's still sitting on pit road. Scott Reister came down pit road just after he was passed up by Thorsten Ulrich, still sitting on pit road. So Scott Reister maybe taking over some admin duties, taking over some sort of duties, but Scott Reister still on pit road, one lap down, pretty much out of this race.
He actually towed, Zach. That's a great catch. First, though, I want to mention that Thorsten Ulrich is about 6/10 behind Scott Kimbrough. After the pit stop, Kimbrough took 2 seconds less of fuel, thereabouts, 2.5 seconds less of fuel. There's Kimbrough's time, 8.9 seconds in the box, 11.5 for Ulrich. A significant difference between these two in the pit lane, but this pass should be easy for Ulrich to make, considering how quickly he's already caught Kimbrough. Let's wait for this pass to be made and then go check on Scott Reister.
We were kind of talking about it too, Andrew. Kimbrough was able to keep up with Ulrich there when they were both catching Scott Reister out in the lead. Kimbrough obviously gave Ulrich one heck of a battle. Kimbrough was able to hold off Ulrich for 2, 3, maybe even 4 laps, so I wouldn't say this pass is going to be easy by any means. Ulrich there was able to catch up to Kimbrough, but now Kimbrough pulling it back away, so I wouldn't say that pass is going to be made easy just yet.
Let's see what happened to Scott Reister. This is back to his pit stop. He has hit the racetrack now. This is all the way back to his pit stop. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit until we see him exit. Well, still waiting. I might not have gone back far enough. Here we go. This is shortly after he exited the pit lane. Behind Bob Guadagnoli, it looks like.
Flashing Bob to let him know that he's there looking to take the position. Nothing out of the sorts there. Oh, Guadagnoli gave it to him. Reister just lost control. Gonna stop on track and take a tow.
That's what happened there. Meanwhile, in that replay, Thorsten Ulrich did in fact. See, I told you, Zach. I had a feeling. Had a feeling when Thorsten got to him, it would be an easy pass. And this guy is just insane. The absolute skill that exudes from car 55. I mean, it's just insane. I'm not sure what he has. The rest of these guys don't, but something is there for sure. He has just got this thing figured out. Did nearly clip the wall there in turn 2. I'd be a little scared of the sparks, but looks okay.
I was kind of watching it over on my sim too, and it seems the infield hasn't been kind of Scott Kimbrough. That's where Ulrich made up all that time. Ulrich was able to make the pass in NASCAR 3 and 4 coming into the backstretch chicane. And as you see there, Ulrich able to gap Kimbrough just a little bit more. Kimbrough was about 2 car lengths behind him coming in and going to be about 5 to 6 coming out. So Kimbrough's weakness is kind of showing through, and then Ulrich was able to take advantage as we're on board with Billy Bowerman here. looking to gain another position, backing off into one, gonna try to set him up.
Oh, spinner. That was Armando Aarons. He'll get back going. That car is not okay.
A little bit of crab walking, hard to see in this light. All we can really see is his headlights, but looks to be a little bit of crab walking, not able to get up to speed.
Let's see what happened here to Armando. Let's go on board. I told you it would be darker in the infield, but not impossible to see. And yeah, he got the wall pretty good, and immediately that right rear was damaged. Went for a spin.
That's just difficult to gauge from there. How much time are you going to give up trying to get back to pit lane versus towing, especially if you're crab walking like that. So he's obviously opting. That car's difficult to drive. Going to go all the way to the outside wall. Going to let these drivers go by for the backstretch chicane, but he's obviously opting to come back around to pit road, even with that car the way that it is. So, oh, he's going to spin through the infield chicane. At this point, he might as well tow. He looks like he's going to try to get the car back going again, but a heartbreak for Armando Aarons.
Manuel Sandoval now down to the pit lane finally. He'll come in for service in that number 420 and get back on the racetrack. Things have calmed down. For how crazy the beginning of the race was, man, this is a very tame end of race as Thorsten Ulrich will walk away with the fastest lap here so far. A 1:15.273. We had best times up on the screen a little bit ago. I can bring them back up. That's on the ticker now. You can see everybody's best lap time. A 1:15.273 for Ulrich, a 1:15.880 for Kimbrough, a 1:15.729 for Gerdai in third, and then a 1:15.492 for Flamin in fourth. Some variation for sure, but it seems like these German drivers from Ride Sim Sport, they've got these cars figured out.
They do got these cars figured out. Ulrich here pretty much flirting with every wall, pretty much on every exit. I mean, obviously for the skill that Ulrich has, as Andrew said, exuded from himself. Any misstep, well, right there, any misstep's going to cause any kind of slowdown or damage to the car. Ulrich's going to have to slow down just a little bit. Obviously, Kimbrough not close enough to take advantage, but that is still going to be a slowdown nonetheless.
It'll bring Kimbrough a little bit closer. Inside 2 seconds.
A lot closer. Yeah, he was 3.5 seconds, now inside 2 seconds. Now, obviously, that may grow again should nothing else happen, but Ulrich there with a little bit of a misstep through the backstretch chicane.
Meanwhile, this battle for fifth has become a battle for fourth in D2. Billy Bowerman on the ballot for driver of the day. Could he win it? He's trying to chase down Anthony Wayand, who won the sprint race earlier today, but does not look like he'll be able to sweep the day. Down here in the fourth spot in class, and oh, that's a big hit for Billy.
Doesn't look like it affected his steering too much. It might hurt his aero just a little bit, especially trying to catch Anthony Wayand. But a huge shout out to Anthony Wayand, especially for everything that he had to go through at the beginning of the race to still jump back up. You're battling 4P4. Billy Bowerman with a huge run through the final chicane. As soon as I said something happened to Anthony Wayand. A fairly slow Billy Bowerman able to get by.
Bowerman goes on through. Wayand is slow. Maybe damage for Wayand?
Quite possibly. He was slow coming out of the final chicane, possibly got into the wall there.
Yeah, it's not steering right. This may be a pit stop now for Anthony.
Yeah, that car very, very tight now. Obviously,
I don't know.
we saw it down that stretch there.
5 minutes to go, Zach. I would try and go through
I'd say
it.
limp it out.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
I mean,
he's got 12 seconds back to Cologne, and that's a driver outside of class, so I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I mean, obviously you're going to throw away a lot of time on track with the car being slow, but you're pretty much giving up anything and everything if you come down pit road to get any kind of repairs done to it, especially within 5 minutes. Yeah, I'd agree. Just kind of limp it out and try to hold on to as much as you can to stop the bleeding.
I'm not sure it's the best course of action, but it's what I would do. I'd be stubborn about it and try to limp it through. But here's Adrian Olshar on the back end of Thomas Rayleigh. This is for 7th on the racetrack. Real close there through turn 7. Here we come through turn 8. You can see Lucas Souza ahead in that Lamborghini. But these are two McLarens going at it from Nexus and from Ride Simsport for 7th and 8th. Here we go.
Ride Simsport has figured something out through the infield. We saw how quickly Olshar caught up to the back of Rayleigh there through the infield aspect of it. Olshar all over the back end of Rayleigh. Rayleigh missteps a little bit outside of the bit of the chicane there. So Rayleigh there still in front of Olshar, but Olshar looking to have some sort of move coming into possibly the final chicane. Yes, right on his back bumper. Olshar gonna power his way through. Rayleigh not gonna take it. Olshar into the wall. Rayleigh's gonna try to cross him over.
Absolutely annihilated those curves there through the back end of the front stretch chicane, and that backed him up. Now Sven Hartman has a chance to pass him. Olshar, I gotta imagine he's got some kind of damage from that. Here's the onboard inside the car, inside the helmet. Let's see when he comes out of turn 4. Yeah,
that car doesn't look like it turned all too well through the right-handers, and unfortunately that's pretty much all it is through the infield section, through Hammerhead and through Redneck Roller Coaster. Fortunately, he's going to have some lefts here, but yeah, that car not steering as it was, almost gets into the wall there as well.
Again, if I were him, I'd try to outlast it. As long as you don't have a meatball, try to keep going. Go back to Sven Hartman here, though. He's in that BMW right behind these guys. They're starting to pull back away, but he could get up there. He could benefit from this.
I think it was smart of him to let these two battle it out. We saw him pretty much on the back end of Olshar. Again, Olshar right on the back end of Rayleigh through the chicane. But I think it's smart for Sven Hartman here just to kind of let these guys battle it out. He's in P1 for D2, not put his car in harm's way.
Thorsten Ulrich has given us, I believe, a 2 to go signal. Next time around should be the white flag, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Thanks so much for tuning in this evening. It has been a pleasure to have you all here. The Charlotte Roval is one of my favorite tracks to bring you here on Pit Stop TV. It has been a bunch of fun here tonight. A bunch of chaos, but a bunch of fun. And honestly, Zach, I would say this has been a successful round for these guys. This was one of those racetracks that had to be proven. I think it's been proven to be a good racetrack for these guys.
I agree. I think the sense of urgency, obviously, because it's so difficult to pass, the sense of urgency has gone exponentially up through the roof because of how difficult it is. So points were definitely at a premium here. You had to earn them, and obviously I have to agree with you, Andrew. I think this track and this race has proven itself to be worth noting as we take the Whiplash Simcams white flag. As far as Barney is concerned, it's not going to pop up just yet because of the time. Still on track. A little bit of a slide there from the 55 of Thorsten Ulrich.
Got to be careful with that. Does he have any steering damage? Could Kimbrough get there on the final lap? I don't know. Does he have any steering damage? It looks okay. But another mistake like that, he's got to be careful. He's got a 4-second lead. Do not bottle this up on the last lap here. That would be huge.
We're talking about the track. It's showing its teeth, especially right here, right at the end of the race, coming toward the checkered flag. Thorsten Ulrich, a little bit of a moment through the backstretch chicane and coming into turn 1 as well. He could, at this point with the gap, he can kind of limp it home now or just kind of lay off a little bit, doesn't have to charge, but Thorsten Ulrich was throwing all caution to the wind right there.
Coming around the back straightaway chicane. Basically all on power from here, aside from that big braking zone on the front stretch. Thorsten Ulrich trying to come around and become a 5-time winner this season. There is a battle behind. Rayleigh has fallen, or no, Rayleigh is still up on Olshar as they chase down Lucas Souza. But up front, Thorsten Ulrich will exit turn number 17. A 5-time winner in the North American Racing League this season. 5 wins now, 4 of them in a row. 2 straight sweeps for the German driver. Here's Kimbrough across the line. Here comes that battle for 7th, Rayleigh and Olshar.
Olshar still kind of laying in wait coming into the final chicane here, hoping for any kind of misstep here with Rayleigh. Even with that car's bad steering, Olshar was able to hold on, but coming through the final chicane, Sven Hartman will take victory in D2, his first victory in D2.
Anthony Wayand will be the final car on the lead lap. He is just behind Miguel Colon. There they are as they work onto the back straightaway. They still have a little ways to go here. Billy Bowerman trying to come around as well. Here he is into the final couple of corners, and Bowerman up so many positions from 35th to 14th. 21 spots there at the end of the race. That is impressive. Miguel Colon going to come around as well. And Anthony Wayne will be the final car to come around to the front straightaway and complete this race. And that will do it for us here this evening from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Final car across the stripe, and that is that. A few cars left out there on the racetrack kind of running around, but that is that as far as on-track activity goes for round number 4 of the North American Racing League. Some burnouts here from Paulo Goday.
Maybe just a little bit of excitement, frustration, burnout, one of the two, but a little bit of a burnout there, a little bit of a celebration.
Let's take a look back at your unofficial race results. Of course, up top, Thorsten Ulrich. 11 laps led here in just the feature race alone. Scott Kimbrough, second place. Paulo Goday, third. A solid podium there. Johan Flamen in fourth. Tommy Kinkowski, fifth. Lucas Souza, sixth. Thomas Rayleigh, seventh. Followed up by Adrian Allstar there in eighth. And then Sven Hartman, your D2 Division 2 race winner. He'll finish ninth. We'll be talking to him here in just a few moments. Jake Browder rounds up 10th. Remember, he had that big spin there on lap 1. For him to come back up there, that might be a lucky performance, lucky break of the day.
That's a good mention, Andrew. We were talking about it at the beginning of the race, but we didn't exactly get through it. There's a bunch of action, so we didn't get through the lucky break of the day. But one name that we didn't really talk about that put himself in P2 for Division 2, Jose De Leo will bring it home 11th overall P2 in Division 2. Andy Ray Miller will be behind him in 12th overall P3 in Division 2. Chris Winstone, after a pretty much lackluster heat race, is going to come home P13 overall. So a good race for Chris Winstone. Billy Bowerman behind him in P14 overall. Miguel Colon P15, Anthony Wayand P16. And that'll kind of round out everybody on the lead lap. Continuing on, Edgar Ruiz, Dean Kerr 17th and 18th. Robert Guadagnoli and Miguel Sandoval will be 19th and 20th, one lap down.
Finishing down in 21st spot, you'll find Ryan Passage, Alex DeMarco in 22nd. Then it'll be, we finish rounding up a few cats, trying to get them in for the broadcast interview. Give me one moment. It'll be the 23rd spot, Scott Reister. Of course, we saw his issue out of turn 1, but not able to recover as everything went awry for him. Finishing 24th spot will be Armando Aarons. We saw his spin out of turn number 2. Ricardo Delgado, 25th. Scott Angelo, 26th. David Schwartz, Kevin Peake, Craig Yessen, and Eduardo Pecorini, your top 30.
Mark Bully will be 31st, Francesco Antonicelli 32nd. These are all guys that decided to call it a night after the fact. Sam Soyd 33rd, we saw what happened to him. Christian Gritzko, we saw what happened to him. 33rd, 34th, Sam Soyd and Christian Gritzko. And rounding out our field will be Mark Reynolds in 35th.
It was a DQ for Mark Reynolds. Unfortunate stuff there as we completed 31 laps this evening and he's shown all 31 laps down. Waiting on drivers to join for an interview. And we don't have any yet. There we go. Sven Hartman has joined us, so we will start off with Sven Hartman, our Division 2 race winner here. Unbelievable run for you, Sven, these last 2 weeks to turn some heads last week at Canada and now win here in Division number 2. That's got to feel really good, really satisfying to get this win here very early.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Canada was a little bit of a, on the broad stage spinning out. That was great in turn 2. But car had actually pretty good pace even in Canada, and I did put some time in this week on the track, and the entire time I just was hoping don't get bowled out of the race and don't die. And it worked well. It was really good, feels great. Good start to the league.
Definitely a good way to get started, especially in a world full of McLarens. Why have you chosen the BMW here, a car that we saw none of before you joined the league?
The BMW and I have a long history. Specifically, my family. Actually, my whole family works for BMW, so that's just my car that I choose. I got very used to it, and it's been all faithful for me. We've had a lot of success, even with 11.9 Sim Sport in that car.
Well, there you go, Sven Hartman joining the league. What brought you here to the North American Racing League?
Just tried to get more active. I've been in iRacing since 2019, and just wanted to get more active again, hone my racecraft, and I was looking for a competitive way to do so, and NARL came across.
There you go, Sven Hartman with a Division II race win this evening. Congratulations, Sven. Good to talk to you finally, and hopefully we're talking to you some more.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Great job.
Sven Hartman with the race win in Division number 2. Zach, I'm going to bring you our overall race winner and sweeper of the day. Break out the broom, second week in a row, Thorsten Ulrich to victory lane.
Thorsten Ulrich has been on a tear. Obviously, everybody in chat, everybody watching is probably going to get familiar with this voice because he's obviously just shown a multitude of great driving and great talent pretty much through the entirety of the series. But I did want to talk to you, Thorsten, a little bit about the final 10 minutes. We saw you there get a little bit too hot into the backstretch chicane, and then pretty much on the last lap, a little bit of a slide through turn 1. Was there a moment there where you were just kind of like, all right, I need to calm it down, or were you still just throwing all caution to the wind and trying to take as fast lap as possible?
Yeah, I was trying to get the fastest to get in the 14s. But it's got sketchy a bit in some places. As the rear tires were done. I took a new front right tire. That's why Scott overtook me after the stop. It took some laps to warm it up. But when they kicked in the tires, it was great to drive because the front right is really get punished here.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. We didn't really make a lot of notes on the tires, but we were kind of talking about how you're using pretty much every exit as close as the wall as possible, getting as fast as lap as possible. But I did kind of want to talk a little bit about Charlotte. We talked to you last week, and you said you didn't have a lot of laps. You didn't have a lot of understanding of the track. Obviously, you've shown a lot of understanding in the heat race, but you started P15 with a little bit of a mix-up there right in front of you. Talk to us a little bit about that start and how Charlotte treated you, or how you felt Charlotte treated you.
It was a lot of fun, actually. I like the kind of tracks where you're jumping over chicanes. Yeah, but the first lap in the feature race was like every feature race this season. It's like just trying to survive. I thought I'm dead, and after T1, where the pileup was, I could stop right before I hit the car in front. It was really close. I was lucky that nobody was behind me, so I got lucky with it. Like all our drivers, like Johan also did a great job from P21, and Adrian and Tomek also. They all survived. That was the plan for this race.
Well, I'd say the plan. I'd say the plan kind of came through fruition. Just survive, and all of you guys pretty much came in really good spots. Before we let you go, I'm just going to ask you one more question. It's going to be a quick question. Andrew keeps saying Ulrich, and I keep saying Ulrich. Which pronunciation is correct? Just so you don't go back on the broadcast if you do go back and cringe at whoever's saying your name incorrectly. I just want to make sure, and I want to clear the air just for my sake.
It's Thorsten Ulrich.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So we were both wrong in the pronunciation. All right. Well,
yeah, I know the Americans can't spell the.
Yeah, that is a bit more difficult. It might choke me up a little bit more going forward. We'll try to pronounce that correctly going forward. But we appreciate your time. Obviously, your talent is just showing through. Your second race where you've just come through and win both of them. So obviously, it's great to have you up here.
So much fun. The track choices are great. It's not always the main tracks which are driven like every 2 weeks in GT3. There's some tracks which, like Charlotte, Montreal. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, you've shown they are pretty fun to drive, and just everything that you've put on display. So again, it's great talking to you. I'm sure we'll be talking to you next week. We hope you have a great week, and look forward to talking to you then.
Thank you.
I want to jump in real quick here, Thorsten. So is it a little less of a TH, I guess, more of a Torsten,
Yeah.
and then more of an Ulrich? Is that kind of closer?
Yeah, Ulrich is alright.
All right.
I'm used to it.
Well, we'll get as close as we can. We'll work on it. We'll have a phonetics, German phonetics class, I guess, this week. But Thorsten, thanks for your time. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
And we'll move on down and grab Scott Kimbrough, our third interview of the night. Second place in Division Number 1, also in a McLaren, the popular car of choice. Scott, a solid day for you. What could have been, though? I mean, you were so close a couple of times to holding that race lead.
Well, come on, give me credit, Andrew. I led like 2 laps at least.
Yeah, you know,
hard for that.
exactly, too, and I will give you credit. You raced to the front there, but I mean, what do you guys who are in the same car as Thorsten and everybody else that is dominating in these McLarens, what do you need?
Well, for this 57-year-old man, I need to reverse father time about 30 years, and then I'd probably be a little bit more competitive, would be my answer.
Fair enough.
At
You're
this
doing.
point, I'm happy to even be able to see him at the finish line.
You know what? That's pretty fair. And when I spend my Tuesdays at Charlotte Motor Speedway through the summer, there is a class in Legend Cars that is called the Masters class. Do you know what that is?
I'm sure it's for old guys.
It is. It's for anyone 40 and up. Kyle Busch, in his NASCAR career still, qualifies for the Masters class. You would qualify, of course, being over 40. For a master driver, I'll say, you are doing a dang good job here. Second place out of this entire field. That's hard to do, I'd imagine. I'm not trying to call you ancient or anything, because you're not, but you are older than me, older than most of these drivers, I'd imagine. And this takes a mental toll. So what is that like, trying to get through these races? Of course, it's difficult for anybody at any age to go through these races, white knuckle and everything. What is it like, I guess, at your advanced age of 57?
Yeah, I'm ancient. I definitely feel it definitely these days, but I mean, I feel like that's the only thing I have left is kind of the mental, the strategy. Like this whole season, I've generally been pretty happy with how I've managed tires and fuel, and it's helped me advance some positions and things like that. On this particular track, I can't be upset to finish second or wherever I finished, because to be honest, I didn't practice, because I basically revolted against this track. I hate it. I think it's ridiculous to race GT3s on of this many cars. So I just it is what it is was how I was looking at it, and just try to survive.
Well, I'm glad that this track kind of gave you a little bit back and gave you the second place here this evening, because I think it's a wonderful racetrack. But Scott, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations, and believe me, you're not all that ancient after all. Still kicking these young whippersnappers' butts at 57. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. I'm shocked to be here again, so I'll take it and move on to the next week.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
we'll see you at Donington.
Yep. See ya.
Scott Kimbrough, another solid result here in the North American Racing League. He is good. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know how old he was. Actually, I didn't realize he was 57. I'm not. That's not old, but that is getting up there, I'd say, Zach. I mean, that's past, I'd say, a lot of drivers' primes, whether it's sim racing or real racing. I mean, in NASCAR, the kind of golden age of when you are good usually is 30 to 40, sometimes even tighter than that. So to be 17 years beyond that, even, Zach, I mean, he's doing good.
I cannot agree with you more. To be at the age of 57, usually when you're around guys like that, like you were saying, the young whippersnappers, I like that little throw in that you had there. But usually when you have somebody around that age, that usually, you can get around them easily. But Scott Kimbrough is showing that that's way out the window, that you're going to have to drive around him. You're going to have to use strategy to get around him. And obviously he's showing that he has both the drive and the strategy down. So I would not have guessed 57 as well. I would have guessed at the very least 20s to 30s, maybe even low 40s. But obviously he's showing that even at the ripe age of 57, you could still get it done no matter what.
And you know what, Scott, if you go back and listen to this particular part of the broadcast, I invite you to put on the back of your car for whatever future races, not your average 57-year-old. Because clearly he's not your average 57-year-old. He has got some pace still in that Rocket Designs number 17. So congratulations to Scott Kimbrough this evening. That'll do it for us as far as the on-track stuff goes here this evening, Zach. Charlotte Motor Speedway, what a gem it is, but we're on to Donington.
Yeah, with the last few lineup here for the tracks, Donington, I feel like that's going to be another good race, Andrew. Throughout the season, we've highlighted Charlotte, obviously with Charlotte down. We've also highlighted Portland and Chicago, obviously tracks that we're familiar with because they're on the NASCAR circuit. Me personally, I'm not too familiar with Donington Park, but I've heard of great experiences, both racing and just Donington Park in general. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that one turns out.
Well, good news for you, Zach. You've got a week to figure it out. I mean,
that's fair.
It's a good racetrack. We've had some experiences there before in Pacific GT3 and some other series like that, British Sim Racers and whatnot. So Donington is a great racetrack to pop into the schedule. Portland, Chicago is older, also great racetracks, and definitely a bias to the North American side this season. You know, oftentimes we get a pretty international schedule, and this is still pretty international, but to only have, what, I think 2 rounds
like
off
tracks.
this continent?
3. Magello, England, and Zold.
Yeah, there you go. I knew I was missing one there somewhere. So, 5 tracks on this continent, 3 tracks abroad. Yeah, fair enough. It's a little less broad, and even the 3 tracks that are abroad, you've got all 3 in Europe in one way or another. So a much more condensed schedule in that regard here as far as the world scale goes this season, but a lot of great racetracks still, and I'm excited to see what kind of opportunities this gives us for season number 9 down the road. But that'll do it for us this evening here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Another look at what's upcoming for us at the channel. And Zach, I'm excited for that Super Late Model race for the Major Series. That's a lot of guys that don't usually run those cars going for it in those cars at New Smyrna Speedway in the quote World Series of Asphalt event that they're going to be putting on. I'm excited for that one, but we got to get through Miami and Donington Park first.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the ovals that are at the helm here. We were talking about it last week about the Cup cars going back to the Rock, and we were kind of talking about which one we prefer. I hope the Rock was a good experience, but nonetheless, Homestead Miami is also a good experience, especially for the Cup car. And then, like you said, Donington Park in the GT3 is always producing good racing. And like you had mentioned, the Major Series going to a short track. We had kind of documented them coming through. I was with you for the Majors 24 for the Majors 24 at Le Mans, so it's going to be cool to see some of those drivers take to each other at an oval, at a small oval, with a very, very difficult car to handle. You got to carry a lot of momentum in, so that's going to be interesting watch as well. But before we get continuing on, Andrew, I did kind of want to bring up something. I wanted to interrupt you, but you kind of got me onto it. We hadn't gone over who the driver of the day was just yet.
Well, that's because I was waiting to see if the vote was going to untie itself, but
that's fair.
It has not untied itself, so we're going to award a joint driver of the day here this evening because it still is tied. So I don't know how Scott wants to handle this, if he wants to do a rock, paper, scissors for the payout for driver of the day that does award $10. But I've left it up. I've waited. It's going to be between Sven Hartmann and Johan Fleming. They are tied in the vote still. I have waited and waited and waited. Nobody broke the tie. It's going to be a joint effort between Johan Fleming in the 13 and Sven Hartmann in the 119. And I will let Scott Reister decide how he wants to handle that part. But it is a tie as far as our part goes for driver of the day this evening. And of course, we talked a little bit about that lucky performance, lucky break of the day. I'm going to go ahead and give it to, who the heck did I say? Jeez. I have a short memory when it comes to this. Do you recall, Zach?
I'm trying to look through the drivers now just to kind of give
it must not have been that memorable if we couldn't think of one.
Well, we were kind of tossing it around at the beginning of the race, but as everything kind of unfolded, we kind of strayed away from it just because we were trying to get an understanding of how the race was going to turn out.
You know what? Thorsten Ulrich not getting in that crash. He mentioned it in his interview, not getting in that crash at the beginning of the race. I'm going to go ahead and override anything we said earlier and say now, lucky break of the day goes to him for not rear-ending the back end of that slower car at the start-finish line, coming to the green flag, because had he been 1 inch further up, maybe 2 inches further up, he would have been in the back of that race car, a 4X, damage, and might not be the winner here today. So, for that, I will award him lucky performance, lucky break of the day, Zach. A big thank you to our partners here at the North American Racing League, Muradness, JS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and a big shout out to our partners here with the channel, Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, Cody, Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. That'll do it for us this evening from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you all next time here on Pit Stop TV for the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series from Homestead Miami Speedway on Tuesday, August the 12th. We'll see you then.